Good afternoon, everyone. It is Office Hours, episode 632. That
Hey,
means that Blaine and I are getting older and older if we have 632 episodes of Office Hours. And it is always celebratory because we launch Office Hours, the TV show, on Fridays. And so Thursday is always the precursor to that. And so join Blaine and I for season 6 of and streaming on Apple, Reach TV, and many other platforms. But Blaine Bartlett and I in Office Hours, the TV show. Blaine, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, all things considered. Yeah, I'm looking forward to season 6 dropping. I know tomorrow's the day I'm going to be joining you on the Friday morning
Oh,
uh,
good.
piece, so I'll bring in a couple of takeaways and we can kind of set the table for season 6.
Well, it is, and I tell you, I was saying it was a long month this week, and you said it's going to be even longer. And we have so many great activities, so many great things in my life, and uh, but everything's not always perfect. And I use your mentorship for the imperfections of my perfect life, or the one that people perceive. And it's been quite a journey emotionally over the last few weeks for both of us. And so I
Yeah,
was just wondering, how important is it though, to stay consistent when things don't go as planned, significant things personally, but you carry a professional standard of productivity, accessibility, and gratitude, a professional standard of being extremely active and productive, which you and I both do. Um, how important is it to stay productive beyond the personal issues that may arise in everyone's lives?
I think it's critical, quite frankly. We run the risk of compartmentalizing if we aren't. And where I'm going with that would be a lot of people will do an either or, and my life is my life. When I look at my life, there's no real tangible walls that separate my personal and my professional uh, ways of being and ways of engaging. And it kind of comes into the question of what many people would call a work-life balance, because life will throw stuff at me and it will seem like things are out of balance, from a work perspective. So rather than a work-life balance, I'm kind of looking at life-work balance. Life is going to take precedence. Work is always going to be a part of that because work is an expression of who I am. And if I stop expressing who I am, yeah, it doesn't work for me.
That's
And
so
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say that's so true. I heard a term that's utilized in the physics of matter. Harmonious resonance is what it is, and it's why granite is so hard and stable. And that stability only occurs in our life, not through balance. Water is in balance. It's 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen. It's not 1 part hydrogen, 1 part oxygen, but it is one of the most sophisticated matters in the world because it's so strong, but yet it's so flexible and malleable and adaptable and adoptable and all of the great things. I love the analogous use of water to how I want to flow through my life,
Yeah.
and be strong, but yet flexible and adaptable. And uh, harmonious resonance requires us to take into the situation and circumstance we're in our ability to, like you said, live our lives and to categorize, define, compartmentalize, either or uh, also leads to a weakening of our matter. And
Mhm.
it's nice when things don't happen the way that we plan to see how strong our matter actually is. And speaking of strength of matter, we have an incredible doctor right up the street from me in Los Angeles. Dr. Malcolm Lesavoy is here, and he's an innovative doctor in a groundbreaking, high-paying industry, by the way. And when I saw his specialties, and then I looked at myself on the screen, I said, "Well, maybe I should take a visit up to Doc's office there because he specializes in some groundbreaking, innovative, reconstructive, and plastic surgery milestones that have been acclaimed. And one of those new surgical techniques is one that I probably use. If you look closely, he has a great technique for correcting lower eyelid entropion So as I have these nice bags under my eyes from great use of my eyes, Doc, welcome to Office Hours.
Thank you. Thank you, David.
Well, thank you. You've been up in LA since med school, and plastic surgery has always been important in your backyard there in Beverly Hills and around Westwood and UCLA. What has changed most in reconstructive surgery? There's so many technologies that I'm sure that are applicable, but you have these new surgical techniques. What has changed the most, though, for you in over 2 decades of doing this?
Probably, to be honest, insurance payment. No, I'm kidding.
Love it.
Yeah, all the money.
Unexpected, but true.
I'm sort of kidding.
Sort of kidding, right? I'm sort of kidding. Blaine and I hear you. That's all we got to say.
Well, plastic and reconstructive surgery is a very, very wide field.
Yeah.
Most people think of plastic surgery as basically just cosmetic surgery, doing facelifts and breasts and you should pardon the expression, tits and asses, and that's basically what people think when they ask you, well, you're a doctor, what do you do? Well, I'm a plastic surgeon, but they don't understand or they don't know, and it's not their fault. But plastic surgery is so varied. We specialize in many different situations, and it's the longest residency, the longest training period of any particular um, surgical or medical field. And so basically, after 4 years of college, assuming that we graduated high school first, and then 4 years of medical school, and then basically we do a residency. And the residency for an internship and so on and so forth, you go to a hospital with professors and or universities, and essentially in plastic surgery, it is usually a 6 or 7 years after your medical school, whereas most residencies are maybe 2 or 3 years. Um, Pediatrics is 2 years, gynecology maybe 3 or 4 years, neurosurgery maybe 5 years, cardiac surgery, plastic surgery, and pediatric surgery are the same, and they're both 6 years after medical school. So there's a lot to learn in that period of time, and the essence is that we never stop learning. We're always thinking. Basically, those 6 years are to give us some basic knowledge from our professors, of which I have been now for almost 40 years at UCLA, and we constantly are trying to innovate and make things better. But we do things aside from aesthetic surgery, as I started to say, because you asked, is we do hand surgery of the hand, fixing tendons and tumors and things of that sort. We do microsurgery when fingers are cut off or arms are cut off. We put them back on. This has been an innovation over the past maybe 30, 40 years. Actually, the Chinese started with microsurgery, hooking up little arteries and veins that are with stitches about the size of a hair. And we do congenital surgery, for example, cleft lips and cleft palates and things of that sort, fixing ears. If there are people that are born without an ear, and so we can reconstruct an ear out of cartilage and skin and things of that sort. Um, all kinds of reconstructive procedures following trauma, from facial trauma, from burns, all of that situation. And we remove tumors and cancer and make a new breast after the cancer is removed from a breast. We do trauma surgery where people have injuries to their extremities, and then we can reconstruct with muscles and tendons and things of that sort. So it's a tremendous field. I love doing what I do. Most plastic surgeons are very cognizant of the fact that we do all these various things, but we get the title of doing tits and asses, and it doesn't denigrate it. It's one of those things, and I accept it. It's what pays my mortgage, So
And your
I'm proud
insurance
of
bill.
it. I'm proud of it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Let me ask this, because a lot of reconstructive surgery, and I'm going to suggest almost all of it, has to do with how I'm presented to the world. So facial reconstruction, cleft palate work. I mean, all of these sorts of things, tits and ass. How I'm presented to the world. The original, when we put, David and I put the show together, this original Thursday edition was the soul office hours, the soul of business, and the question I've got here has to do with, in your 40 plus years of working, how, and I'm not using the word soul here from a religious perspective. I'm looking at it through the eyes of Aristotle. That force that enlivens everything, that gives life. And life gets expressed through form. What have you noticed as a surgeon that happens when form changes? What happens to the life that is expressed?
Blaine, that's a great question, and if I had 2 hours of discussing this, I would love to.
That's Blaine. That's Blaine's show, not this one. We'll get you on
Uh,
Blaine's show. He'll give you plenty of time.
All right, but the key is that the joy that we have as plastic and reconstructive surgeons is taking sometimes a monster. I was actually quoted one time in a newspaper when we were reconstructing a baby that had, actually was a monster, truly a monster. And I said, we're taking this monster and making her into an ugly person. And she was presentable in public as an ugly person. Okay. But she could not have been presented as a monster. I mean, she could not go through life this way. This kind of surgery, this kind of medicine, if you will, is something that enlightens me and enlightens. I mean, any doctor, whatever if they're an endocrinologist, if they're a general surgeon, if they're a gynecologist, just helping somebody, a person, is an enlightenment. But more to your point, for example, the years ago, not many, hundreds, thousands of years ago, the treatment or the actual problem, if you were convicted of adultery, is to have your nose cut off.
Right.
So then you would be walking through public, and people say, that guy, or that girl. I have my dog in here. I learn more from my dog than most people. Reconstruction about 800 years ago was to how do we reconstruct this person's nose so that they're not a pariah, and as they walk through public, people won't really stare at them. And in India, the Indians actually described a procedure where they could take skin from the forehead and transfer it down and actually make a nose, which was a tremendous thing. And that was just the beginning of total reconstruction. Excuse me one second.
No problem.
And this whole situation has evolved, truly evolved. And necessity, out of necessity, really brings innovation. And I could list thousands, not thousands, but hundreds and hundreds of things where necessity actually brought innovation. Even just minor little things of aesthetic surgery. Giving a woman who has no breast from cancer, or giving a woman who has very, very small breasts, give them the confidence to be out in public, to be with her husband or boyfriend, just being able to wear a nice dress for an evening. rather than being embarrassed if they were. But there are many women that have had, for example, cancer, and the breast is removed or both breasts are removed. And their positivity is to just have a tattoo placed where the scar is and not a breast. I've survived and I'm happy, so on and so forth. And so everybody is so different. And every day I come to my office or at the university at UCLA, and I am energized by our patients um, for their desires, and 98% of them are really fantastic. Some are crazy, and we say, "Well, goodbye." Go to
That's in
Beverly
every
Hills.
that's in every
Yeah.
business. And one of the things that I've learned about plastic surgery uh, is that there's such an emotional, whether it's reconstructive for a condition or a medical, or it's just some sort of enhancement of. Uh, there's a great value in people feeling good about themselves, like you said, and I think that a lot of people may put a prejudgment on people that worry about what other people think, but I don't necessarily see it that way. And speaking from personal experience, right? People have made fun of my nose for years, and I'm always making sure that when I deal with a plastic surgeon, and if they do any work on any of my family members, I tell them, hey, look, if you screw up, forget the insurance side. I'm not going to sue you. I'm just going to tell everybody in Beverly Hills that you did my nose, and then
Big time.
there goes your practice. But as men especially, there's certain things that we may like about ourselves that other people may want to fix, and I really want to. I love the fact that you told how long it takes. It's amazing that a neurosurgeon has less time than a plastic surgeon uh, when you think about it. And as we finish up, and we're going to have you on our other shows, so we give you more time. This is a teaser show just to get people to reach out to you, but we want to really get into the emotional side, not just of reconstruction, but there's so much out there about people feeling good and great stories about people that have had plastic surgery to make themselves feel better about themselves, not necessarily because they worry about what other people think. It's just when they look in the mirror, no one's teasing me about my eyelids, but if it would make me feel good to get my bags off of my eyes, then I would do it for sure, because I know that when I feel good, I perform better. And people seem to like me more when I feel good about myself. It has nothing to do with them. So I want to have you back on the bigger shows, the longer shows. But what you're doing is incredible, and we want to commend you. I know, like you said, a lot of people see the TV shows out there and the housewives and the tits and ass, the reconstruction, and they think it's more a celebrity. It's really an emotional healing that you do, and the complexity of what you do is extremely admired, and you teach other people to do it as well. So really was excited to have you on, and I know Blaine and I both want to have you on our other shows.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And if plastic surgery doesn't work out, I think to tell Doc, we'll put him on the comedy club, because I love his sense of humor. Anyway, I'm hoping our next guest is here. We're running a little bit behind, but
Andrew's here. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, there he is.
Hey, David. Hey, Blaine.
Hey, Andrew.
Hey, Andrew. How are
How
you?
you
We got
doing?
LA contingency. What's going on?
We should have done it in person.
Exactly. CEO of Prunovo, Andrew. Another great technology, whole body proactive MRI technology. Something that I actually, Dr. Fuzz Blaine, by the way, had suggested I do this, and I really want to learn about. What do we find, Andrew, in a full body MRI? What are the things we're looking for? Is it something?
Well, I can't resist other than to segue from the last speaker, which is to say, we're looking inside the skin at what we can see. And it's funny, the first thing people learn is, what does the inside of my body look like? And oftentimes this is the first time they've looked inside and they see what their brain looks like, their kidneys, their lungs, and so on. And I'm sure some of them might ask, well, why is one kidney bigger than the other or hanging lower than the other? And I hope we never have to do plastic surgery to sort of fix that. But no, it's the first thing people are seeing. And so what we do at Prunovo is we put people in very high grade sort of research level MRI machine that we have in various locations around the US. And in 45 minutes, we take thousands and thousands of pictures of the inside of their body. And we are able to use those pictures, or radiologists use those pictures to diagnose anything that we can see in almost any organ. And this includes cancer as early as stage 1, and then hundreds of other conditions.
Can I ask one quick question? Because I'm considering doing this, and my fear is that there'll be so much data there that either misdiagnosis or something that the body would naturally heal itself would cause me to interfere with my life today. So there would be, some early detection that was either misdiagnosed or just something that the body would heal itself, but becomes a bigger deal than what it really is. Is that a concern for others, or how and what is seen in there and the reaction to it?
Well, I think what we do at the company is that our goal is to just be agnostic and look and see what we can see. And every time we see something, we sort of risk stratify what we see. So to give an example, you might come in and we see an interesting lesion in your liver. And based on the characteristics of that lesion, is it containing fluid? Does it contain blood? Are there solid components? Is there heterogeneous components to this lesion? We're going to allocate it a risk score. And just because something has a high risk score doesn't mean upon further investigation that it ends up being malignant, but it's much more likely to. So your risk profile sort of just changed in that moment. For every lesion that we find and we work up and it seems to be benign upon workup, there are other lesions where we find them and they're worked up and they're found to be high-grade cancer and they can save someone's life. So unfortunately, I wish there was a perfect test. Our radiologists are working very hard to make this the most accurate thing that you can get out there, but it's it's designed really for someone who wants to get a screening every year or two and follow their health longitudinally. And then that's one way that you can make the test more accurate, is to compare you against you a year or two in the past. And obviously, we know a lot more about you when you come in a second or third time.
Yeah, and that was a question I was going to ask. Had to do with just baselining. Yeah, I remember a conversation I had with Peter Diamandis a number of years ago, and he was just beginning, and he had a lab down in, I believe, the San Diego area.
Yeah.
And he was, offering a full body MRI at that point. How has the technology, Andrew, changed? Let's just say in the last 5 years, because that was, I think, the time that I had that conversation with Peter. How's the MRI technology changed in terms of its ability to, number one, more clearly ascertain what's going on in the body, but also just in terms of a diagnostic tool?
Yeah, well, when you think of all the imaging modalities, so you have X-ray, ultrasound, CT, which is spinning X-ray, and MRI. Of all these modalities, nothing is advancing as fast as MRI right now. In the last 5 years, our scan alone has got about twice as fast. And if you come in now, it takes a little bit more than twice, half as much time, because we've added more sequences and we've increased the sort of range of conditions that we're able to diagnose with these devices. But there's lots of innovation in terms of speeding up the scan, which is very important for comfort, in terms of taking more and more sequences that filter for different tissue composition, which helps us become much more accurate.
Yeah. And
obviously there's a lot of AI that's also starting to come into play in MRI imaging. And that's very exciting because again, it's another, AI could be another pair of eyes on the image to make sure that things aren't missed. And obviously can help us really understand very tiny changes in our bodies that are impacted by the way we live our lives. So we all wake up feeling like we're 100%, but I guarantee you the way we feel in the morning today is not the way we felt when we were 20. So as humans, we're almost
because I'm not hungover. I'm kidding.
The marathons I used to run have caught up. My knees don't work fast.
It's a fair point. We're just really hard. It's really difficult for us to identify tiny changes over time, and that's brain function, liver function, digestive system function, spinal degeneration, all of these things. It's really great to have. AI is very good at sort of helping us understand how the way we're living our lives is affecting the trajectory of our health.
Yeah.
And just to finish up as well, and I want to learn more about this. And as being the Office Hours teaser show, we purposely don't have that much time with everyone, but want to elevate the awareness to what's going on and then educate through other shows that go into more detail. One of the interesting things that Malcolm brought up previous to you was just his relationship to insurance as a plastic surgeon. And when he said, I'm joking, well, not really joking. I think there's a duality or an interesting relationship that Prenuvo would have with insurance companies. Obviously, increasing the chances of longevity and health and detection would be favorable to the insurance companies, but also the ability to detect things and have to go ahead and test them to see as well. What is the relationship with Prenuvo and insurance companies?
It's evolving. I think we all feel very confident that these scans will be covered and standard of care at some point in the future. The reality is, as a health system, we do not do a very good job of preventative health. And a big part of that is just how long it takes for preventative screenings to be covered by insurance. I think the median time period is like 30 years. So we continue to collect data. We continue to work with insurance companies. I think we'll start to see coverage first for people that have high risk. So women with BRCA genes or Lynch syndrome patients, people have a higher genetic disposition to cancer and disease. But the goal eventually is it's covered for everyone. And I hope that that's not a 30-year journey because, there's a risk we won't be around for it. And the good news at least is people, if they're able to, can pay for these out of pocket in the short term. And I think they yield a tremendous clinical set of insights that can help you better manage your health.
Yeah. Perfect.
Amazing. Well, we will have you back, Andrew, and as a great entrepreneur in one of the greatest spaces, which is health. And I always say, if we're healthy, we get as many wishes as we want. If we're not healthy, we only have one wish. And it's things like the full body MRI technology that Prenuvo has. And I saw that you can even get a little bit of a benefit by going to prenuvo.com for being on the show. I certainly am going to look into it. I may even reach out to ask a few other questions because it sure seems like a good idea to me to create a baseline that can check every couple of years to see what's going on inside as well as outside. Thank you, Andrew, for joining us.
Of course. It's great to be here.
Andrew.
Thanks. Cheers.
Love what you're up to.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah.
Dr. Fuzz wants me to do that. And
yeah, he's asked me to consider it again too. So
yeah, good stuff. All right, let's change gears though. We've been all medicaled out today. And now we're getting back into something that I super enjoy. The crash course for our entrepreneurs out there, founders. Yeah, the founders. We're going to bring on Ricardo Jimenez, and it's a founder's journey to saving your startup, but most importantly, your sanity as well. I really want to know how to do that. He definitely has lived the founder's journey. Is Ricardo here? There he is.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hi, David. Hi, Blaine. Great to be here. Thank you very much for having me on your show.
Yeah, well, obviously, what a great title and what a great subject matter. I assume there's a personal experience that has led you to write this book called Crash Course. What was your personal inspiration for the book?
Yeah, it's a whole story of a company that I started. I worked on it for 6 years, and things didn't go as I expected, which is a story that some entrepreneurs may relate to, that not everything goes exactly like you would hope things to go. So yeah, I was in Austin. I had this idea for a toy company. We wanted kids to learn about the world through toys in the shape of countries. And I had this big vision for movies connecting the kids of the world, for them to have a friend from the world to relate to those countries. And me and my partner, we decided the product, we did the distribution, we built let's say decent logistics, and then when it came time to sell, then it wasn't that easy. That's the story. And then the whole book tells the story from the beginning to the end of trying to find the market. Would be education or gifts, travel, toys, just this search to get some traction, which was a word that back in Austin we used a lot these days. I guess it's still used, and just wasn't easy.
Well, part of the title of the book has to do with saving your startup. That's one piece, which most entrepreneurs are very concerned about. But the other part of it has to do with and saving your sanity. What did you pay attention to that you would actually label as it saved my sanity? What were some of the things that you did to kind of keep yourself centered, focused, and grounded rather than spinning out?
Yeah. Well, a couple of things. Before that, let me explain briefly what I think makes this book different. I think there's lots of books about building companies, how to do product market fit, how to talk to an investor, hire your first people. But I don't think there's many books about the person who actually needs to do all those things. And we think I believe sometimes we try entrepreneurs as black boxes. And again, when all these expectations are not met, we develop unconsciously or consciously lots of emotions: anger, confusion, being overwhelmed. I was paralyzed. So what did I do? I did not do many of the things that I talk about in the book. Some of these lessons came later while doing a 6-month meditation retreat in Uruguay. But I can still see how I think that the most important thing is that we stop and we don't forget that we are people. I think we lose our humanity. And yes, we are founders, we're driven, we want to change the world, we want to build big companies. But again, when things don't go our way, which is very often, we develop all these emotions and it just brings more confusion. Trying to solve the world from chaos, I think it only adds more chaos. And one of the things that I often think about these days is that the number one quality that we usually think about when we think about entrepreneurs is grit or determination. And very often I spent many mornings that I was completely unproductive. And it wasn't because of a lack of motivation. It was because I was so confused and so overwhelmed. So what to do? I talk a lot about emotions. I think emotions are a little bit neglected. We often talk about mental health, but we don't really listen to our bodies to understand what's happening to me. Let me identify a basic emotion. Could be anger, sadness, fear. Just feel, identify it, and then move it. And you would not be able to believe how much wonders does to just wash away that emotion and then just come back to a state of clarity. So that's the number one thing I would recommend.
And just to finish up in the next couple of minutes, I'm always intrigued. People like you that have gone to some of the finest institutions in the world, received an MBA from Duke, one of my favorite schools. What was the number one lesson?
Let me say, I don't.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, sorry, I don't hear that with the basketball, with all the basketball, I guess rivalries. I don't hear that too often, but I'm glad to hear that. Good for you.
Yeah, no, that's one of the advantages of going. Yeah. So one of the advantages of going to Occidental College, there's not many rivalries that we carry in any of the sports, but to get into Duke was one of the rivalries that we love. And but what I really want to bring forward is from someone who obviously is a great academic and has learned from the greatest institutions. What was one of the lessons that you did learn getting your MBA that is applicable to that journey? Because everyone talks about what you don't learn in your MBA programs, but there's a reason kids keep going to these great programs. What was one of the lessons that you learned at Duke that was applicable to that journey?
Yeah, I will share, of course, but I will also, I think, to also explain that I was coming so far behind. So my parents, meaning I didn't know what an entrepreneur was. I had never heard the word entrepreneur until I went to Duke, until I was 28. So all my parents, uncles, brothers, teachers, cousins, either they work for the government or in big corporate. So I didn't know anybody who was an entrepreneur or who knew probably anybody who was an entrepreneur. So I was really starting from way behind, but I did learn. Again, I started to hear about startups, and then when we were doing business cases, I think I got some of the basic frameworks, what to look at when you're looking at a startup. Does this product make sense? Is there a market? A lot of emphasis on the team. The first time that I saw business projections. So it gave me, let's say, all the basic training and understanding of how things operate. I guess then I was missing all the experience. That's something that I had to acquire for myself. But it gave me the education to start from something. I had to figure out lots of all the things that you don't have from experience, but at least I had, again, some framework or some basic parameters to move around.
Beautiful. Well, I cannot wait to read the new book, Crash Course. It sounds like my definition of a founder's journey, but not only save the startup, but I think sanity is far more important in so many of the 90% of startups that don't make it. Unfortunately, businesses can revive and expand into something new. Those lessons aren't lost unless, of course, you lose your sanity. Everyone, check out this book. Every entrepreneur should read this book, Crash Course. Thank you so much. We appreciate Ricardo, and we'll have you back. We'll see you soon.
I look forward to that. Thank you, David. Thank you, Blaine. Thanks.
You bet, Ricardo. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, we're covering the whole country here. We're going all the way out to Honolulu, the founder and president of the Honolulu Fish Company. There we go. Wayne, how are you?
Great. It's a wonderful day in Honolulu.
It always is.
Skies, birds are singing, ocean's blue. Great.
Hey,
let's keep it blue, and that's part of what you want to do at the Honolulu Fish Company as CEO there, and celebrating in July the 29th anniversary this last month, a couple days ago. But Wayne, what do you attribute to the success that you've had? Because I know from my days of doing the Pro Bowl and knowing the Honolulu Fish Company from all the years, as many changes that have happened to the Pro Bowl, unfortunately, we don't get to go to Honolulu anymore, but has happened in your industry. And to keep fish fresh, and I know you have a huge mail order in the highest quality grade fish. What's changed, and how difficult is it with the mail order side of what you're doing today?
I would say everything has changed from when we started. You know, when we started, this is pre-internet, pre-email. Amazon actually just sold books. There was no Best Buy, networks were manual. I was just showing someone in our staff how we, our orders we put in were by paper. We did, the main information tool was a fax. So everything has changed over the years. What's remained the same of our business principles is a commitment to a certain level of service and gaining the trust of the people that are buying our product and keeping that trust. That's something that hasn't changed. The reason people buy from us is trust, and trust that our selection process and our quality commitment is always at that level. So over those years, going back from the days of the fax and the manual orders and those kind of things, we have customers that have been buying from us for 15, 20 plus years. So that trust has remained the same. Our technology has changed. Our ability to reach people has changed. The way the business functions changed. We've gone through 9/11, financial crisis, COVID, Y2K, all these events that happened over the years. But fundamentally, people want a really great seafood product, and they want to be able to trust the person that's picking that product out and supplying it. And I think that's it overall has been why we're still in business, why we still get business.
Yeah. for me, the way that I define the purpose of business has nothing to do with making money. The purpose of business is to create the opportunity to thrive. Yeah, on behalf of those that buy my product or service. And if people feel that they have an opportunity to thrive, they're going to keep coming back. In 20 plus years, you've got repeat customers coming back. I'm interested in terms of just kind of how you set the company up, and I'm referencing here your relationship with the James Beard Foundation Smart Catch program. How soon did sustainable catching, the sustainable catch, the environmentally sensitive harvest, come into your ethos as a company? Because that would be one thing that would inform my purchasing decision.
Yeah, our standard, our commitment to the environment, our commitment to the product and harvesting, we started way before it was even a word. The word sustainability came into our lexicon. That appeared out of nowhere maybe 20 years ago. But prior to that, my background is in marine biology, and I have always had this great respect for the natural resource. And I'm a big believer that we can harvest these natural resources if we do it responsibly, and we use methods that don't damage the resource. So that was my belief from the beginning. That's actually what I wanted to sell with our identity. That Honolulu Fish was a company that thought about this stuff, and we were, again, before there was the word sustainable, it was, is this fishery managed? Is someone actually looking at population numbers? And, are we making sure we're monitoring fishing? So that is how we started. Then this idea of sustainability began to creep up. It started slowly, and then it kind of got momentum, and I think the younger generations caught on to it, and it's been a growing idea and a thought, I would say at this point about 20 years ago. And I've always been in full support of that. The word sustainability has many meanings. To me, what's really important is are we managing harvesting? Are we looking at this resource? Are we making sure that population levels are stable, and our harvesting and fishing is not ruining everything? And case in point, something I'll mention to that point, our tuna fishery off Hawaii has actually been increasing in population. So the population of tuna has been growing. You hear a lot of stuff. People are saying, oh, they're catching all the fish, we're overfishing. None of that's true. Because of management, the population is increasing. We actually have several fish populations that have been increased over time while being fished, while being harvested.
That's beautiful. I was not aware of that. That's great to hear.
Yeah, it's not something that is commonly talked about. What you usually hear is like the negative part that catches more of the headlines. We're catching all the fish, there's no more left. It's usually the storyline, but actually it's only the opposite. The opposite is true. There's natural resources of fish off Hawaii and the Pacific are quite abundant.
Yeah.
Well, let's keep it that way, because I love some sashimi grade tuna, especially. Let's keep harvesting and fishing responsibly. But it is a great lesson, Blaine, of why values are so important. The skills, knowledge, and desire that we have combined with the values and staying aligned with the opportunities, although they're changing faster than ever. What's doing well, what's stable, and what we think is going to do well will absolutely accelerate in its change. But it takes great leaders and great entrepreneurs like Wayne Samir, who bases his success on the customer and providing value to those customers with values. And thank you for everything you do with the foundation and with your company, Honolulu Fish Company. Go to honolulufish.com. They'll mail order it right to your door. Thanks so much, and I look forward to some good tuna tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Wayne.
Phenomenal. All right, my friend, I know we got a lot going on, so I won't waste any time in asking you the takeaway of the day.
Takeaway of the day today. I think I'm going to use the word harvest as kind of the anchor word there. and it kind of goes all the way back to our first guest, our second guest. I mean, in the medical, yeah. How do I harvest? I plant a seed, I nurture it, and something bountiful emerges. Whether it's reconstructive surgery, where a seed is planted of hope, whether it's a full body MRI, where I have an opportunity to really baseline my health and well-being in a way that's very unique to most people. And the idea of fishing for harvest, and maintaining my sanity as a startup. All of these things, we plant seeds. And the dream is what we pay attention to. So all four of our guests today were working with dreams in some way, shape, or form. And that's, I think, where when we're paying attention to dreams and we're doing what's needed to be done to harvest the dream and all the good that is embedded in the promise of the dream, life works pretty well. Yeah, because things are going to go off the rail, as you and I started the show with. Things are going to go off the rail, and it's a question of, what do I focus on? I want to focus on the harvesting of the dream.
Harvesting of a dream. Go to blainebartlett.com. Moving the possibilities, the dreams into reality. And for me, the takeaway is everything's not as it appears to be. And I think all of our great friends and guests that, in plastic surgery, everything's not as it appears to be. And that was very apparent. And with Andrew, that even with the full body MRI, everything's not as it appears. There's further things. It's just giving us some clues to indicate the patterns inside of us as well. Obviously, in the crash course in business, it's not what it appears to be. And that's why we have to understand and keep our sanity by managing those expectations. And that takeaway was directly from Wayne, and it struck a chord with me. It had a harmonious resonance when he said, we have an abundance of fish in the Pacific Ocean. And because all I hear on this side of the pond in the Pacific Ocean is we're overfishing, we're ruining, there's no tuna, there's no yellowtail there. And to hear the real biologist, the real oceanographer, the man who's been doing it for 30 years, say that we have an abundant amount because of the responsibility, all is not that which it appears. And as you're out there in your social silos, whether it be a religious, political, philosophical, theoretical, or spiritual content that you're intaking, just remind yourself it's not what it appears to be. Maybe I should ask people who are actually sitting in a situation to tell me how it actually is. That's why I go to mentorship from Blaine Bartlett. BlaineBartlett.com. He will tell you how to get to where you want to be or better. He is moving those possibilities into reality. Blaine, I hope to see you soon. We got another big unstoppable event tonight, and I got to jump, but I love you. Thank you.
I love you too, buddy, and I'll see you tomorrow morning.
I will see you tomorrow morning. Thank you for joining us for season 6 launch of Office Hours tomorrow at 6 a.m. Come and join us on Clubhouse on all the platforms, StreamYard, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. We'll be there. Office Hours, episode 632 here, season 6 for TV. We are in Vegas tonight. Next week, we'll be in Napa at Silver Oak with their release. And then next week, Houston, I'll be with Dave and John and Lance Armstrong and Mr. Wonderful and Tim Story, who's Mr. Wonderful. Come and join us next week in Houston. Email me, david@dmelter.com. And then off to the triad of Dallas and VCon and the Infinite Growth Conference. Come and join us. We'll be there the next week. 200 cities, more than 200 cities a year. You can join us if you're more interested than interesting. Remember, be kind to your future self and do good deeds. Have a wonderful evening. Take care.